Okay, I would like to start. This is George Eduful. I'm the IEEE Section Chair, Ghana. Good evening, everyone. Let the rest introduce themselves, and then I'll come in with their opening remarks. Then we take it from there. Kingsford, can you take it up from him?
All right, thank you. Good evening. I'm Kingsford Atanga, the Industrial Relations Chair of the Ghana section, and I double as the PES Ghana Chair. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Miriam.
Engineer Mrs. Miriam Edufol. I'm the Executive Secretary for Ghana session and a woman in engineering. Thank you.
Catherine.
Hello. Hello all. I'm Catherine, woman in engineering and then Students Advisory Chair for Ghana section. Thank you.
Alex.
Yeah, my name is Felix. Yeah, my name is Felix Akpaglo. I'm the chapter coordinator, IEEE Ghana. Thank you.
Wachi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Engineer Isaac Kubuwashi. I'm the Professional Activities Chair, IEEE Ghana section.
Do we have anyone else? Kester.
Yeah, Kester Christ, Afeji Kester. I am the Vice Chair for IEEE Ghana. Thank you.
Dr. Sando.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are on this globe. I'm Joseph Sando, a founding member of the Ghana section of the IEEE. I'm a member of the executive committee.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Maxwell, Addison. I am the membership coordinating activities chair, and your ambassador for this evening. Chairman, we will invite the chairman for the section to do his remarks. Chairman.
Thank you, Maxwell, and good evening, everyone. I think it's 5:45 Ghana time, and mine is going to be very brief. Young Professional is one of the affinity group that is very dear to the section, and we have been very supportive and have championed the cause of the activities of the section's young professionals. We have instituted a program known as IEEE Tech Talk series. The program seeks to achieve two main purposes. One is to bring the industry closer to the academia, and the second is to give students opportunity to network with practicing professionals in the field. The program so far has helped young graduates and a number of students, especially in relation to research and technical report writing. We want to explore more avenues to champion the activities of the young professional. Currently, I wouldn't speak too much because I'm driving home. So once again, I want to thank everyone for coming, and I will leave the rest to the coordinator to take it over from me. So Maxwell, please take it over from me.
Thank you, Chairman. We are so much grateful to you. Thank you, everyone. Today's program is going to be very interesting. We have a lot to offer. There'll be a discussion. We'll have a presentation by two experts on wonderful topics. And we know that we are going to have fun this evening. We want everyone to sit and then relax and enjoy the program. we know our main program for today should start around that is 20, that is 6 o'clock. But we'll start with the discussion for now. There will be a round discussion on the very interesting topic. So just a moment and we'll get back to you. Dr. Sando, Engineer Adufo, Engineer Tanga, and Dr. Kester will walk us through some things. Dr. Kester, I would like you to take over from now. Thank you.
Okay, we are delighted to have you all as part of this IEEE Virtual Students and Young Professional Congress, which is under Region 8, that has to be Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And we'll be looking at various topics that will be discussed. That has to be energy sector, and then COVID-19, where you will learn more about things that people are adopting and things that you see in relation to the energy sector and COVID-19. You will also have talks that has to be in the sector of the future of connectivity, artificial intelligence, and that will be taken by me, and I'll be giving a talk to that effect. So I have Engineer Joseph Sando with me, and he will also give you some few words. Thank you. Yeah, and I think maybe Atanga first, then before Engineer Sando. Thank you. So Atanga, are you online?
Yes, Dr. Kester, I'm online.
Okay, a brief listen of you.
All right, so as I earlier indicated, I'm Kens Faratanga, an electrical engineer with the Electricity Company of Ghana. I practice as a researcher within the electrical industry. I joined IEEE way back in 2014, some few months after I had joined IEEE, and fortunately, I had to work with the current chair of IEEE Ghana section, who actually introduced me to IEEE. And since then, I've been an integral member of the section and IEEE at large. And I've enjoyed my relationship as a young professional within the organization. I think that's what I would just say because of a lot of time. And if the time comes to share what I had actually benefited by way of being a young professional within IEEE, then I'll make it available to the audience. Thank you.
Okay, so moving forward, we would like to know from Engineer Boachi in terms of resources that are available for young professionals. So please, Engineer Boachi, go ahead.
So there are a lot of resources that are available to young professionals. In fact, as young professionals, resources that are available to professional members, they also have some access to it. Example, they have access to the IEEE accounts, my IEEE, my account IEEE, MemberNet, and Collaboratech, all for the purpose to enrich themselves through learning, contribution, and influence. Of course, you know, in contributing, as the chairman rightly outlined earlier, through the research seminar series, some have had the privilege to speak, to make presentation on some of their research papers. Some, of course, have been introduced into how to make project presentations, and of course, opportunities for networking as well. They have also had the privilege to be influenced into leadership positions where student membership drives in some tertiary institutions, they've had the privilege to become members, and that has propelled them as they have completed school and they are contributing on towards IEEE. Of course, the number of areas such as knowledge sharing, how to be professional, the community, how to connect by community-wise, and of course, other resources are also available to them. So, of course, IEEE Spectrum Magazine, the Institute newsletter, the Potential Magazine, the IEEE Explore. What is new at IEEE are all opportunities that are also available to young professionals. Again, even though as student members, although not completed yet, there are enormous opportunities available to them. Free membership to women in engineering when they are ladies. They have access to online communities. They have access to member discounts, volunteering, local meetings, scholarships, IEEE ebook classics, IEEE TV, IEEE conferences. And if you may have noticed, especially during this pandemic, there are a lot of IEEE free tutorials, seminars, conferences that are available to all, especially young professionals. So talk about IEEE e-learning. It's an opportunity for young professionals to be able to gain some practical knowledge, so to prepare them very well for the tasks ahead of them. We can talk about the IEEE Resume Lab, where it helps young professionals to be able to fine-tune their CV professionally, mentorship, even they have accessibility to live interview tutorials to be able to prepare themselves. And of course, talking about continuing education, I mean, you can talk about the IEEE Wiley Press, e-library, IEEE book classics, and of course, the IEEE Digital Member Library. And of course, there are some tools such as the LabVIEW Student Install, the Rosetta Stone, the Mozi Online Backup, and of course, a whole lot of opportunities that are available to them. Google Apps at IEEE as another means that is available to us all, so that their email alias at IEEE, of course, points them on as people who are affiliated to professionalism. So, of course, there are a lot of enormous opportunities available to them, and that if I want to talk about it, I need a whole day to do that. But I'm sure as the discussion unfolds, probably some more will come up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Engineer Mariam, can we have your views, and also in terms of how women in engineering can benefit from the YP? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The women in engineering, right from school, once you join IEEE, the benefits are enormous as a woman in engineering. You have the opportunity to network with experienced women on all diverse of fields. We have so many conferences, workshops that goes on online, and there are some that are physical meetings. You can take advantage of all these to enrich your profession. And here, the Women in Engineering, our main aim is to help you to progress in line of your profile. So as you network with experienced people, things that you are supposed to use so many years to learn, you can use a day to know. So this is just a gist about the Women in Engineering. Thank you.
Okay, Engineer Boachi, some of the students may ask, because in IEEE, or if in case they join a society, they want to see how best they can benefit from the educational resources, maybe scholarship, networking, and other things. Do we have these things available, and how can students have access to all these packages?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Kester. So, of course, undergraduates and graduate students members reap most of the same benefits as professional members. Of course, once their membership is activated, not by math, by payment, and it's activated, they have accessibility to discounts on many technical resources. Of course, one of the biggest advantage to them is that they get reduced registration fees for conferences. Remember, the conference we held last year, students were paying far, far less, and that's a huge benefit to them. Of course, when students, and of course, young professionals, especially students, they get discounts on society membership, software acquisition, and of course, publications as well. And students, remember, also have the opportunity for IEEE competitions where they stand a chance of also winning some money, seed money, to propel their professionals.
Okay, that's great. So, Engineer Tanga, from your perspective as a young engineer, what do you think people can benefit from as you yourself as a young professional within a very top engineering sector?
I think the first the most important thing that comes to mind is the fact that students and young professionals have the opportunity to network. Today, if you're a member of IEEE, you have the opportunity to, in fact, you've seen Dr. Dufo being the chairperson. You are free. Now you got to know him. You're able to connect to him in terms of students' projects. If there are difficulties in even selecting topics or projects that you need to run, these are highly qualified professionals who've been in the industry, tried and tested, who are at your disposal. And so it's just a phone call away, it's just an email away. And once you're a member, you have access to this directory that have all IEEE members online and available to you. All that you need to know is to search or look for your career path, where you intend to go, and all the highly trained professionals in that particular area or industry will be available for you to network with and ask them to assist you in whatever way possible. Some of us, way back in school, we didn't have that opportunity. And so we're only having our lecturers to talk to. And you can imagine 200 students going to one lecturer or two lecturers to look for project topics. That is very limited. But IEEE presents you with all manner of professionals in diverse professional portfolios for whom you can link up and ask for any form of assistance, any form of mentorship, any form of direction, and all these will be made available to you at no cost. You just have to be a member of IEEE, and the future, the door to your future, if it was open, now it remains wide. If it was shut, it's opened now. Thank you.
Okay. Engineer Boachi, as the person in charge, can you give, in terms of academia, how young professionals within the academic sector can benefit directly to the publications and other things that you are talking about? And in terms of collaboration and membership to IEEE, how do you think they can benefit from all those things?
Hello, Kester. Before Boachi comes in, a quick one on the young professionals. I've realized that some of the programs that we have embarked on, largely, you'll see that in relation to the membership of the students, it goes up. But by the time they leave school, it drops. So you can see from the data that we have on membership that that of the students fluctuates very much. So maybe somewhere in the discussion, let's see how best we could maybe levelize the fluctuation such that once we get them into the IEEE membership, we don't leave them and go after they leave school. That is what I'm sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Engineer Boachi, would you like to take it off from there? Would you like to add anything to it?
Yes, so in addition, it's just unfortunate some of the tertiary institutions are not fully aware of some provisions available to them. In fact, hello?
Yes, you have
okay. So, for instance, I remember very well when I was the vice chair in one of the Region 8 meetings, my attention was drawn to the fact that the IEEE Digital Library, of course, is free for all tertiary institutions. We made them aware to be able to take advantage of that provision. And these systems were set up at their libraries for accessibility to their students. Most students who were members of IEEE and non-IEEE members benefited hugely having access to their digital library to be able to access research work to help them in their chosen field. Nonetheless, our research seminar series also drew the attention to them. But you know, in Ghana, professionals, when they want to look at the dollar rate with the membership registration, some register a year or two and it's difficult to keep up. Likely, students really are excited about the benefits and they join, but after school, they are unable to continue their membership because largely some of them don't get employment immediately. Some also have their own issues, and that is one. We have extended the research seminar series not just in institutions, but also open to bring such ones on board to be able to network with them, mentor with them, and to be able to connect them if need be, even for employment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much, Engineer Boachi. Thank you, Chairman Adufo. Thank you, Engineer Mariam Adufo. Thank you, Atanga. We are so much grateful for this wonderful presentation. At the moment, we are a little behind time, and we'll go straight to do our presentation. We have two topics. One, the future of connectivity, IA, and cybersecurity. And the other one will look at COVID-19 impacts on energy use and digitization, new and now and for the future. The first one will be done by Dr. Kester. Dr. Kester is an expert in cybersecurity, a senior lecturer from Ghana Telecom University. Dr. Kester, you can take the floor now.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to give a talk on this that has to do with the future of connectivity, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. So So as I said, I'm a global cybersecurity expert and also a member of DEFCON. I'm also a member of United Nations experts on artificial intelligence in diagnostics and medicine. And currently, I belong to the World Health Organization group that is looking at technologies that has been deployed during the COVID-19 from one country to the other. We are evaluating it, coming out with standards and looking at other efficiencies that we have to use to ensure that future outbreaks are controlled. We've really started trying to see how we can harness energy within the artificial intelligence sector in solving global health issues. I'm also very involved in development of cryptologic standards and also involved in cybersecurity activities within the defense sector and other sectors. I've also led a team of US Department of Defense and also the African Command within the sector of cybersecurity as well. Okay, so now imagine a connected society with AI governing that society. So a lot of people are worried about artificial intelligence taking over certain systems and co. And they don't have trust for some of those systems. But what the future has for us, we will be governed by these technologies and trust will be built in them. Some of the questions that they ask is that, what if the system is hacked? And what if somebody has taken over the AI system? Or the AI system decided to do things and then run things by its own? How can we handle these complexities? So these are some of the issues that borders around the artificial intelligence and stuff like that. And cybersecurity comes in to ensure that people's privacy within this sector kind of safeguarded. But what do we really have for the future in terms of cybersecurity? So, and artificial intelligence with regards to connectivity. Now, the future is all about connectivity. So in order to address this, I'll be focusing on 3 areas for this presentation. I will focus on health, agriculture, and the defense sector. These are very critical areas that catches up the attention of government and even cut across. So you see some of these technologies that are deployed within this sector being applied in various units. So let's take it step by step and go through it. So now, let's pick the health sector. What are the future technologies and future activities that we are expecting in terms of connectivity, in terms of artificial intelligence and cybersecurity? Now, imagine that there is a patient that is driving home, and then there is going to be a problem with the patient. It's not everything that you will know. For instance, if you're about to fall sick, you will not know you're about to fall sick. If in case you are going to feel dizzy, you will not know from the beginning that there is going to be dizziness. So how do we reduce accidents, provide support for patients, guide them in doing so many things? And that is what we have for the future. So for instance, a patient that is driving, that have a sensor attached to the body, this sensor reads information from the patient's body. And by reading information from the patient's body, it can predict that this patient is going to have this health problem. So if in case the sensor on the patient's body read that information, how will the sensor act? Imagine it is a stroke, and the sensors in the patient's body detect that there is going to be a stroke. Now, the patient that is in the driver's seat cannot control the vehicle. So even though the intelligence system attached to the patient's body have detected this, there will have to be some degree of security and also connection. So the sensor or maybe the watch or this, the device that the data is sent to for processing will now inform the vehicle that the person is driving. So the vehicle that the person is also driving is also going to have this AI capability. So if in case the information is relayed from the sensor device in terms from the body to the watch or other wearable device, the message moves from there to the vehicle. Now, the vehicle takes control and then drives the person safely back home or to the nearby hospital. And how will the patient be sent to the nearby hospital and then people will be waiting? So the vehicle will have to notify the hospital, or the device will have to notify the hospital if in case the wearable device agrees with the vehicle as to how far they are from the destination. So which means GPS is also a key here. So you realize that it makes it easy. So the vehicle can drive itself to the hospital and can notify the hospital that there is this patient coming. The sensors within the body of the patient can communicate the conditions of the patient to the hospital in advance. So the hospital can be fully prepared and know what they have to pick. If the patient is having low blood in the system or the patient needs blood, the hospital systems will also have to communicate and know the blood that is available, the blood type of the person, and then prepare that. So that is the future of artificial intelligence that has to do with the health sector. And also, even if there is an accident on a scene and you send people there, the cameras will profile the accident scene. Maybe it's a disaster. For a good example is 9/11. They can process the information at the scene, know the types of services they have to render. If they have to carry blood, certain emergency equipment, the hospital will be notified based on how the profiling is done, and that will be done effectively. So assessment of also a disaster zone and all those kind of things will help. So devices will have to be connected and share information. And with this degree of connectivity, you will realize that there will also have to be security of the data and how the systems communicate. So the security of the future will have to be such that when data is shared or services are supposed to be accessed, it has to be accessed in such a way that no one can have the right to access those data once the systems are connected. So in a connected environment, there will have to be protection of data to that effect. Another good example is, assuming I walk to a restaurant and I wanted to eat, okay, will I know how the food has been cooked? Will I know the components in the food? Now, the devices connected to me can measure my body situation, and also how the cook cooked the food in terms of the composition can also be communicated to my device. My device will perform the computation and tell me the amount of food I have to consume before I not have any effect, and it will digest. Even by the time that I'm eating the food, whether it's late in the night or whatever, it can give me information. If I go to a drinking spot and I am drinking, my device is connected to my body should tell me I'm over drinking too much and it's going to have effect on me. So that is how the future of connectivity in terms of health sector is. So this is just a few G's. And also, if you go to a hospital and then you are crowded, you are all in a room, you share a hospital room, and your body temperature is going high. Maybe the other person's own is going low. How will they adjust the temperature condition in the room? So the systems will have to agree and calculate and produce average temperature across the hospital environment. So that's combination of IoT and other things, and is the intelligence that governs it. And you also need cybersecurity in order to secure the hospital systems and stuff like that, because if somebody hacks into the account and the person is high profile, they can control maybe insulin pump, or they can control something that pushes blood into the person's system, and that can also kill the patient. So artificial intelligence have to go along with cybersecurity in ensuring that these services are rendered without any kind of attack. Now, when we look at the agriculture sector too, if in case you are farming, okay, the edge devices that you are using to control the farm will have to know when it's going to rain. They will have to understand the conditions of the soil. They talk to the earth and the earth talks to them back. And they give you information that this part of the farm is not having nutrients. This disease has affected the farm. based on the sensors that the cameras that collected imaging. That processes the imaging of the various plants. The person is in the field also collects data, and then there is information sharing between the various devices. So if it is going to rain in the farm, the satellites gather that information by watching the cloud movement, calculate it, and relay the information to the farm. And then the farm uses it to decide not to give the plants too much water because they can predict the amount of water that will fall. So there is a connection between the satellites and then the farm and also to the plants and also to the supply chain. And even if they are storing it, whether it is organic or inorganic, the system can predict whether it is going to expire, how long it will take to expire. The fridges, the storage, and all the supply chain within the agricultural sector will be controlled, and that is how connected the devices work. So farm is connected, the satellite devices are connected to the farm. City monitoring system in terms of quality of air, temperature variations, all those kind of things, those information are used to model how the various sensors that control the farm should work. And that also determine, in terms of the food produced from the farm, the components that are involved in it. So with this case also, cybersecurity is involved. Okay, you have to secure your devices. Else, if a nation's attack, you have a farm and they are competing, maybe this person wants to produce and export more, they can attack your farm and then they may make malfunctioning of your farm. That will affect the way your productivity goes up. So cybersecurity is key in that domain in terms of securing communication on the farm and how you go about it. So I will look at the defense sector. Most of the technologies that are deployed in future defense sector, that has to be to urban warfare, jungle warfare, information superiority, taking over the skies and everything, is highly dependent on connectivity. Connectivity is key. So for instance, if you have 5 robots, you deploy these robots to the battlefield. Let's look at it from the human perspective. If you have a human soldiers and you deploy human soldiers to the battlefield, you realize that they all have different experiences based on the terrains they pass. If you have a one soldier that passes through a terrain and experience something, that soldier cannot communicate that experience to the soldier behind. Even if they communicate the experience to the soldier behind, it's going to take time, and that person might not understand the situation. But when you send a robot that walks through a terrain that is not smooth, that robot processes that information and passes it over the one coming, and the one coming uses that, the experience from the one that is in front, and then use it to behave in a battlefield. So connectivity is key within the battlefield also in terms of experience and how they can coordinate attacks in an environment. When you also have to look at joint operations within the defense sector, you can have the drones in space, you can have robotic tanks on the ground, you can have robots that are in human forms that are performing operations, and there will have to be communication from one point to the other. You don't want a situation where people that you don't want to die will die. So what do? You now have to make sure that the connection between the robots as they send data from one point to the other is secure. And also you design a communication system in such a way that when the data is moving from one robot to the other robot, the robot can authenticate it that the data is actually coming from the right source. So in a command and control environment, coordination and information sharing is key. And that leads to using sensors, grid, and then sensor grids and in the operations, so that information can be shared in such a way that it can be validated. So security is key in this sense. One of the best ways also that artificial intelligence can reduce casualties is the development of intelligent missiles. And for instance, can we design a missile such a way that when it's moving towards its target and it identifies the target to be wrong, it will not explode unless the target is correct. So sometimes we pick data from data sources. Let's say if you have a mobile phone, or you have a device, that the device is on you, then we know that you are located within this geographical area. So you can use multiple data sources to confirm your target. And when that is done, and also you send your missile or Hellfire in order to, that Hellfire, if it is intelligent enough, should be able to process their environment, reduce innocent casualty by even determine to what degree should it explode once it hits its target. So these are ways that they have to use intelligence inducing system within battlefield and also the defense sector. And these communications will have to be secured. Else, if somebody hijack the operations, then that means that the missiles will be sent to wrong targets. And also you have to ensure that the communication between one device and the other device is clear. For instance, if you have a submarine, a tank, a drone, coordinating an operation, the information being shared between these two nodes have to be confirmed. Else, wrong visuals can be sent, processed, and then different wrong targets will be acquired. And that will create a lot of problems within the battlefield. And we also have operational environments where communication in the battlefield, everybody wants to know who is talking to who and what they are communicating. Security of this is key. For instance, if you have vehicles, and these kind of experiences are now being transferred into cars. If you have a car at your front and the car is faulty on the road and something is about to happen, can the vehicle in front of you communicate to the vehicle at the back so that they will reduce speed? If you are a human being, it's very difficult for you to know that the car in front of you is about to experience something. But when you have sensors deployed in these vehicles, when something is about to happen to the vehicle in front, the vehicle in front can communicate to the vehicle behind through a connected environment. So that is how connectivity and all those kind of things work within the environment and stuff like that. So artificial intelligence and connectivity have a key role to play within these kind of things. So within the battlefield, it is there. As I said, within the agriculture sector, it is there. Within the health sector and other fields. So whilst the systems openly share this data between other nodes, security of them is very crucial. So I will pause here and expect questions, and then I will address them. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm expecting questions. Yeah, so Maxwell, you can take over and officiate the questions from here. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kester. It seems we don't have any question at the moment. We still have time. After the last presentation, we still have time for Q&A. So those, if you have any question, you can type in and we'll answer them. Thank you, Doctor. Yes. Our next presenter is Dr. Joseph Esando Yedu. He is also an energy expert, and then he walk us through a very interesting topic. Dr. Joseph Esando, are you ready?
Very ready.
Thank you.
Once again, good evening from Ghana, and then wherever you are, it could be good morning or good afternoon. Right, fine. I'm going to talk on COVID-19 impact on energy use and digitization now and for the future. I'm senior member of IEEE and executive committee member. Yes, why I'm in Ghana here, and for that matter, my presentation is largely going to be on the Ghana situation, where I am. So I look at the global and then Ghana. Ghana is in West Africa, and as you know, is well noted for soccer, or what we call football. Well, I've been a tropical country. We have three major climates, that's the dry and the raining. And then electricity coverage is about 80%, 85% as at the end of last year. And I think, well, not I think, it's one of the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. Frozen. Frozen. Excuse me. Frozen. It's not going. Sorry, that is the slide is frozen. Yeah, but it's not frozen. Yes, fine. So, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, as you know, it brought a lot of disruptions in the usual global social and economic sectors of all economies worldwide. That's residential, transport, industrial, and services. Name it. In Ghana, it wasn't very different, about the same, and for that matter, our government had to take some measures to mitigate and consequently halt the spread of the pandemic. And for that matter, all educational institutions were closed. In fact, our measure, the measure started on March 16th, 2020, yeah, this year. And all schools were made to close down, and then also to observe social distancing. Also, street operational arrangement for gatherings, that's including funerals, churches, nightclubs, but they were all closed. Even though now there have been some ease. Contact sports activities were also suspended, even though also being now gradually being eased. So there was the lockdown of the nation, land and sea borders, and also the national airport. The national airport has been reopened, but the land and the sea borders remain closed. And there were partial lockdown of the nation's capital region and also the second capital region. As you see over here, we have the Kumasi, that's the second capital, and Accra, the major capital. That's the national capital, right? Yeah. Yes, the impact on energy. Energy here, I'm going to zoom on oil and electricity. I'll not talk about biomass. Because when we talk about energy, energy is not only electricity. We also have oil and other forms. But here, let me zoom myself on oil and then electricity. And I'll group all the challenges into two periods. Period of confusion and period of containment. The period of confusion, I would say, was the time when it started. There was a panic globally. And I do remember March 16th, there was rush, people trying to store food and all those things. And it's similar to what happened elsewhere. And because there were more COVID waves. And then beside that time, there were also trade disputes between China and the US. And then also there was confusion among the OPEC countries plus Russia. What we put them together, they call OPEC plus. If you say OPEC, that doesn't include Russia. But OPEC plus includes Russia and some major oil countries, except the United States and Canada, right? And there was no agreement on supply cuts. And for that matter, Saudi Arabia decided to pump more oil into the global scene. And so there was a price collapse. To some extent that countries were even made to keep their oil, and then they are paid for it from them. And the non-OPEC countries like US, Canada also, well, because they also thought they were independent, or they also started, so it affected everyone. Nations started taking action, including my own country, Ghana. And so that when during the lockdown, there were some measures that were really able to control the COVID situation or contain it. And then for that matter, the OPEC countries also were able to maintain, now sat down and then decided to cut their supplies. And so that also helped to improve the industry a bit. Yeah. So economies started rebounding, but now because of new realities, countries have to apply using the supply, based on the supply disruptions. Sorry. Yeah, if you look at the chart, you will see the global oil production until end of February. The global oil production was on the average above 100 million barrels a day. But then during the pandemic, it fell to between 85 to 90 million barrels a day. That's a drop about 10 to 15%. Mind you, in 2019, the average supply was around 100 million barrels. So now, because of the COVID situation, international bodies are forecasting an average of 93 million barrels per day. for this year. In fact, it has collapsed. A lot of economists said that IMF and other financial institutions are forecasting now a drop of about 5% by end of the year. Look at the oil price. It was before the pandemic or the lockdown, as at end of February, it was hovering between $60 to about $75 per barrel, depending on the quality. But then, lo and behold, then there was the lockdown, and that price collapsed because of the instability created by the oversupply of fuel on the global market, dropping to like a negative 20 degrees, that whole 20 degrees, $20 per barrel. That means companies were even begging to keep their oil, and they were being paid for it. Now let's look at the electricity sector also. The lockdown reduced electricity consumption in most developed and industrial economies, because most of these countries are driven by industries. So that electricity, without because most of the industries were made to stop producing, what happened? Very little use of electricity, except in the homes, because almost all of us were made to stay in our homes. So you see the charts, like UK, France, Spain, all had reduced consumption of electricity. Let's look at Ghana. When you come to Ghana, the lockdown started in around mid-March. And look at February, we have, let's start with diesel. 1.3 million tons. And then March, it dropped to about 1,289. Yeah. Then April, the same thing. Look at kerosene. We also see a drop. Look at LPG. Well, the LPG on the hand went up because homes, where most of us were in our homes, and so we needed more LPG to cook. So there was this situation where people have to even, I would say, buy more to store, being afraid of the people were because of the uncertainties. Look at gasoline, because we're all locked down in our homes. The gasoline production supply also dropped significantly for March and April. Then look at ATK, that is the fuel for aeroplanes. Significant drop. So there was a drop in oil supply or consumption during the period of the pandemic. And so, and for that matter, this affected our projection for the year. It was the drop was around between 40 to 45% during the period of the pandemic, the lockdown. But as the lockdown, we started easing the lockdown, and then consumption started improving again, right? So look at the electricity. On the period of pandemic, there's a significant drop. Look at the pink line. Electricity consumption. Yeah. But then immediately when we got into after April, then it started things started going up more than they predicted. The predicted is the blue line. So for electricity consumption for the first half of the year, the actual electricity supply was more than they projected. Look also the domestic. That's if you exclude export, the same thing. More electricity, well, there was more consumption than projected. And you ask yourself why? Because in the developed countries, we have drop in electricity consumption. But Ghana here, we had rather more consumption. And then this will explain why. If you look at the shares of electricity consumption, you see that for the past decade, I would say from 2000 to about 2010, industry had the largest share of electricity consumption. But from 2010 to now, for the past decade, the share of electricity consumption in the residential, that's in our homes, have taken over, have beaten that of industry. And you ask why? Yes, that's what I'll answer later. Yeah. And for that matter, as more people stay home, then we expect more consumption home because not much consumption in the industry. Fine. Yeah, so since the lockdown to the current, yes, remember international travels for conference meetings were all reduced. Most of them, a lot of them postponed, or most of the postponed, a lot of them been cancelled, particularly the UN ones. Addison was supposed to make about 5 international trips from March 31st to mid-May. All of them cancelled and shelved. Yeah. So, and then what was the option? All of them, but international meetings, conferences, all of them moved to virtual and digital platforms. I remember though before that, I've not used Zoom before, but I was forced to learn how to use Zoom and all that. A number of commercial activities also now are being shifted, even now, onto virtual options, like credit transfers and all those kinds. They don't want queues because what go to the bank want to join the queue, then you are in trouble. It takes you hours because you have to observe the COVID-19 protocols and all that. So, interestingly, from the National Communication Authority, the number of mobile data subscription increased from about 25 million to 26 million. That's from March to about 26 million at the end of April. That's about 1 million increments. And as we move on, they believe it's about 4% increase. That's the whole thing, right? Yeah. And when you come to the economic shares, you have 3 measures of the economy: the service sector, industry, agriculture. The service sector rather account for about 43% of the economic growth for the first quarter of the year, the first quarter of the year, this year. And for the service sector, 77% was accounted for by information and communication subsector, which involved digitization. Yeah. So here's it. Also, the GDP growth by 31st March was about 4.9%. It was lower than the same year the same period in 2019. That's a drop by about 2%. And the slow growth mainly have been as a result of the limited economic activity in March. And the information and communication subsector has accounted for almost 43% of 2020 first quarter economic growth. Yeah. So you see the chart. Sorry for the bad chart. I got it from the Ghana Star Services. I couldn't get a better one before coming. Yeah, right. And they believe still the communication subsector is projected to continue to be the dominant factor in economic growth for the rest of the year due to the digitization drive taking place now. Now, there are some pros and cons of the pandemic, the positive side and the negative side. Some international bodies are celebrating because they are able to make a lot of savings because of limited international travels. Because mind you, when we are traveling for international conferences, we have to buy our tickets. We also have to give us some per diem allowances and all that. The unfortunate thing on our side that those of us from developing countries, we lost all. There was also reduced fuel expenditure, but the growth in digital use and technology. Then 2, the cleaner and improved air quality and more fuel savings. Remember, a lot of European countries were called air quality pure, far better, because we have less cars or vehicles moving. But then there's also the negative side. I'll call it, yes, the cons. And most of economies have started shrinking. You know the trends in Ghana now. And then the World Bank predicts that there will be drop in the growth of the economy to the global economy. Yes, the World Bank and these international bodies. Global index also almost collapsed because of the significantly reduced oil prices. And the mass close down of oil fields due to the price collapse. Still, a lot of fields are still shutting. The hospital and tourism sector, I would say, has perhaps the most severely affected. The eateries, the restaurants even are coming up again, but the hotels, tourism, virtual nil, and people are losing jobs because of little or no patronage. But on the digital side, for those of us in developing countries, Ghana, these are personal experience. The connections have been very poor. So even though it's a plus, but the need side the poor, even poor connections and then network systems. So toward the future, this is what I see. There's going to more use of digital technology. We also expect improvement in digital virtual meeting platforms, and eventually we're going to be more of such platforms. Then also expect improvement and growth in IoT and the communication sector. We expect growth also in electricity and social technologies, because all these will need electricity to power them. Then, and this will help also because of growth electricity, also going to be a growth electric vehicles. And then consequently, there's going to be a rate of consumption of oil due to the expected reduction in rate of international travels for meetings and conferences. Because when the economies recover, I tell you, not going to be like as it used to be before the COVID. There'll be going to be still international meetings, but it's going to be a mix of the two, with digital and then physical contact meetings. And then, yeah, and my recommendation to the youth, aim at artificial intelligence, AI, and digital learning programs, because that's going to be the future. You can't run away from it. Because these international bodies, they have seen the benefit of it in terms of financial savings. If the climate people, because they read that when there was the lockdown in Europe and all this, the air quality improved significantly. So they are going to ensure that at least AI and digital learning programs. So youth don't take these areas for granted. Also acquire skills in electricity and social technologies. Because Africa here, not every country has that large coverage, high percent coverage of electricity. In sub-Saharan Africa, it's Ghana, really above 50%. Most of the countries are 50 and below. Nigeria, mention them, Tanzania and all that, or below 50% of coverage. So strengthen yourself, gain more experience, electricity and storage coverage. So we are talking about battery technologies. Improve knowledge in communication technologies, that's important. Then during this pandemic period, particularly for those who are home, students and graduates, don't keep idle. Seek mentorship. If you're an electrical engineering student and you are home, look for somebody who's running maybe an electrical shop or company in the area and just offer yourself. And you gain some practical experience. So don't just stay home. If you're an IT person, don't just stay home and play with your iPhones. Go there and then learn how to install some of these softwares. So seek to gain field and practical experience whilst at home. That's where I end. Oh, frozen, excuse me. It's no more. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, now time for QA. You are invited. No questions?
Okay.
Doctor,
Thank you.
there are two
Thank you,
questions which have been sent to you by chat. Please read the chat.
There are a few questions, Dr. Kester and Dr.
One is
will address. Dr. Kester.
Yeah, there was a question that was asked when I was doing my presentation in relation to cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. And on social media, one person asked whether the U.S., in terms of U.S. defense and Ghana, what are some of the things that have to be done? I think this is based on country specific. So if in case, in terms of the defense sector, Ghana wants to go ahead to develop these AI technologies and deploy them, they are free to do so and also integrate the cybersecurity capabilities into them. We have a lot of countries who are doing that, especially the developed countries who are developing these technologies and then letting them work. When I was in Israel some time ago, they were working on connectivity in terms with various applications, and then they also work with systems that has to do with mapping of environments where during disaster they can respond to it quickly. So we have a lot of countries that are working on it. Now, the second part, given the constrained resources of IoT devices, is it possible to have a completely secure system? Is there enough resource for secure boot, proper certificate verification, secure ZTP, and how as consumers do we know how secure our system is? Oh, okay. So picking in terms of resource constraints with regards to IoT, it depends on the environment in which you are looking at. For instance, if in case you take a farm, for example, the IoT devices in a farm can be connected using other energy sources, such as solar energy that can be connected to these devices on a farm that can help the farm run efficiently. So with the farming environment, you realize that the energy resource for these IoT devices can be guaranteed and then they can function properly. This is not only something I'm talking about, but this is actually projects, for instance, in agriculture project that we've deployed, that we ensure that there is energy source and supply for these IoT devices. So it's not in every circumstance where you deploy devices, systems that the energy source have to be continuous, like how we have from the electric grid. It's just like having a vehicle. You drive home, you fuel it, and then you bring it back and stuff like that. And also on the battlefield, you don't go there with resources that can sustain you for long. That is why even the aircraft, the war fighters have to refuel in air, and they also have the land refueling system. So yes, I understand in terms of energy sources, these devices also in terms of security, doing certain computations, you expect that their energies runs down. Now, let me also address something with with reference to energy in terms of the IoT devices. Security in terms of the IoT devices, when it comes to securing them and in terms of putting security over them with their energy resources, it depends on the security protocol you are using. And that is why we have a lot of research work going on, and we have lots of cryptographic protocols that are designed, that are energy efficient, using equations that are very difficult to crack, And also in the forward approach of creating the security for the devices, they are very secure, okay? But trying to break them, that is where you need a lot of energy. So in most cases, deploying some of these security applications in a field does not necessarily need so much energy in the forward computation, unless the energy source, for instance, if in case you are using a battery to support the devices that you deploy in the field, then you have those challenges. But most of the devices and other things I talk about, for instance, when you have your car, when you have your in your homes, when you have a hospital, those locations have maybe a very good power sources that can provide in terms of the security computations. Now, maybe if you have a wearable device, that has to be maybe a watch that collects your data. In that case, the best way to do it is such a way that when the data is collected, if in case the energy source cannot be strong enough to sustain, they send maybe the data to your phone, and from the phone, it sends it to maybe another sync that performs that operation. Then the distance between your phone and those devices, at least you can be sure that the verification and certain security approaches that have to be used will be strong. Maybe unless the phone is compromised, then you may have that problem. Okay, so I think I'll finish addressing most of the questions that come from the Ghanaian and then the international environment. So I will leave it for the next speaker to also address his questions. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. The question, do you think that the global oil industry will continue to shrink given the rise of renewable energy sources? Yeah. Yes, I'll say yes, because what do you use the oil for largely? It's for transportation, transport. And so now we have a section of the transport that has been replaced by digital communication. Then that share is going to be lost. Then secondly, if we have electric vehicles coming online or increasing, that means transport system vehicle depending on oil is also going to reduce. So the share of oil in the total energy consumption or supply will surely reduce. It's not going to be the same as it used to be. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope I've answered it.
Dr. Sando, I think there's another question for you. Apart from the usual problems Ghanaian engineers are known to be solving, did the COVID-19 pandemic really got Ghanaian engineers busy? That is a question.
But that's not for me alone. You called me Engineer Sando. Now, right, really, math is really more of the science of physics. Really fine. Yes, well, we are here to know that. But I guess some engineers and then scientists were working. Now you have a lot of innovation in the system. Things like this, even the little things we often call the nose cover, and then all those things, the chemicals, the sanitizers, and all those things, right? More and a lot of we could see a lot of innovation in town, and then also you find somebody using solar among the youth, a whole lot of other things, you see, and including even the platforms. I've heard so Ghana, some of the platforms are from Ghanaians, and I believe they're going to perfect these things. Yes, you know, all of these things are not going to be originated from the Europe and from the industrialized countries, but some of us going to come from us. Thank you very much.
I would like to contribute on this part. Whether I got Ghanaian engineers busy, I can give you an example of myself. That was the time I developed my liquid detergent through research and how to prepare hand sanitizers. And now I'm commercializing it on a large scale. So as a woman in engineering, I got myself busy. Our chair, Dr. Eduful, also was able to come out with the hospital, what is the name? The one they used to
The isolation center.
No, the one they used to give oxygen to the patient.
Ventilator.
Yeah, ventilator. So ECG commissioned a lot of engineers in the company to produce ventilators, and they were successful. So actually it got engineers busy. There are a lot of systems that came up for washing hands, Veronica bucket and all that. They are all ingenuity that came up in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Engineer.
The vertical bucket, even though that for that one, it was long. It was around long ago by a Ghanaian lady like CSIR. I hope you wore this one. That's why it's called Veronica bucket. They named the first name was Veronica. I hope you reward, find reward all those Ghanaians bring out these innovations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Kester, do you have something to say?
Okay, yeah. With regards to the presentation, I think based on the new direction in which we are moving towards in terms of connectivity, artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence field has to do with deep learning, machine learning, and all those forms that have to deal with data science and co. So all are fields that are encompassed with artificial intelligence. And cybersecurity too, once systems are connected and they are communicating, cybersecurity is key in relation to what we have to do to secure this data exchange between one device and then the other one. So people who are looking forward and young professionals who are looking forward into different fields, connectivity is one of the areas. It can fall within a sector of software. How do we use, in terms of software-defined networks, how do we write protocols, design systems that they talk to each other, exchange information, self-organized systems, how do they pass data from one node to the other? All these things are key. And how do they do it securely so that it is only the intended node that has to process this, that has to be done. So these things have to be looked at within this space. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kester. Thank you. At this moment, I'd like to invite the Ghana Chair, Dr. Edufo. Dr. Edufo. Doc. Okay. Gerald? Gerald, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Do you have any comments for us, please?
No, I'd just like to thank IEEE Ghana for a wonderful night and some absolutely brilliant speakers. And thank you for putting on a wonderful show.
Thank you so much. We thank all the executive committee members for making this program a success. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.